Okay, hi everyone. I'm Hannah Pino, for those who know me, for those who don't. So on Ask, I've been asked to make a YouTube video. Now, I told you guys I'm really awkward, and I really don't know what to say. So, I guess just for this first video, I'm just gonna tell you the basics of, most questions that I get. More so, what did your parents say? How did your mom react? How did you feel? How did you know you were pregnant? Basically, every question. I get asked those questions 1,000 times a day. They get annoying. So, I'll just start off. Well, how I knew I was pregnant, it's actually kind of a funny story. I didn't, but I did. So, one day, Anthony and I were taking a shower, and he was like, "You haven't gotten your period yet. Maybe you're pregnant." And I was all like, "No, it's good. I think I got it. Whatever. No big deal." And then after he said that, I was like, shit, I really haven't gotten my period in a long time. Maybe something's wrong. So, a week went by and still no period. And so it'd been about 2 weeks at that point. And I was like, fuck, okay, maybe it's time to tell somebody. So I went to school and I told my trusted teacher, Miss something, I'm not going to just put her name out here in the world, but I told my teacher, my study hall teacher, that I thought I was, and she was like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And I said, "I don't know." So I texted my dad and I was like, "I think I'm pregnant." And he texted back, "What about your birth control?" And I was like, "I've been taking it, but I think I'm pregnant." So when I went home, I was home by myself for a long time, and I was freaking out. I was, crying, and I was, calling my friends, and I was like, what am I gonna do if I am? Oh no, blah, blah, freaking out. And, I was really worried. And then my dad came home, and he was pissed. He was very mad. And he basically threw the box at me as I was sitting on the couch, and I went, and I took a pregnancy test in the bathroom, and I sat there, and almost immediately it said pregnant. And it's clear blue, so I was like, fuck. Because I already knew. I was like, I'm pregnant. I don't really need to take this. I already know. So when I seen it, I was like, great. And so I put the little cap on the end that you pee on, and I put it in the front room, and I gave it to my dad, and he just looked at me, and he was furious. He was mad. But he didn't, take it out on me or anything. He was just like, "So what's your plan?" And I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "Well, you need a plan." And I was like, "Okay." And so what I took a picture of the test, and I sent it to Anthony, and I was like, "I'm pregnant." And he asked me what we were going to do, and I said, "I don't know." And that was basically that for the night. And I had texted my mom a picture, and I was like, I just sent her the picture. And I sent a picture to my sister, and my sister called me back. My sister called me, and she's like, "This is a joke, right? This is a joke. This is not real. This is a joke. You're not really pregnant." And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And she just was like, "All right, well, I'm here to support you. I'm there for you, blah, blah, blah. But I think what's best for you is to get an abortion." And I was just sitting there, and I'm not going to be like, okay, I didn't think about it. I really did. I thought about it. And then I thought, how am I supposed to go through something like that? I'm already pretty, sometimes emotionally unstable, as in every teenage girl. And so I was like, I don't know how I'm going to go through that and be okay. And so I just listened to my sister go on and on about that. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll call you back. And then I called Anthony's mom. And she had Anthony at 17. She got pregnant at 16, had Anthony at 17. So she knew. And she's like, it's going to be hard, but she can do it. And it'll be okay. Blah, blah. So I was like, okay, well. And she's like, whatever you and Anthony do, I'm here to support you. And I'm like, okay. Well, that doesn't help, because I'm still freaking out. And, great. So then my mom texts me, and she's like, I'm not picking you up tomorrow. I'm not taking you to family dinner, because my family was in town that we don't normally see. I haven't seen them in almost a year. And she said, I'm not taking you to family dinner, and I will talk to you later. And that was it. She was so mad she didn't want to talk to me or see me. So then a couple days went by, and she called me, and she went on and on. I'm so disappointed in you. I expected better from you in life. You and your dad's helping you choose the wrong paths in life, and you need to get your life together, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And so that was that. And Anthony and I talked about it, and he first said abortion because we're young, and how are we going to do it? And I told him, I don't think I can do that. And he said, well, whatever you do, I support you. And I was like, well, what about adoption? And he was like, no, not adoption. I'm not going to have my kid go and be with somebody who may or may not treat them well. Because adoption, it can go either way. You can either get really great people or you can get really bad people. You just never know. So, sorry, that bothered me. So he's like, no, and Anthony's mom was like, if you want to do adoption, we will take custody of the baby, and we will take care of the baby once it comes. And I was like, sitting here, and I was like, well, how stupid of me would it be for me to give them full custody of the baby and let them have the baby and be a part of their life, but not mine? And then what happens if I do want to be mom and stuff, and I give them full custody? Like, no, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. So that's how we came to the conclusion of us keeping the baby, and that was how my parents reacted. Everything. Anthony's mom was really calm and cool about it because she knows what it's like. No, she was disappointed, and she was like, okay, well, but it's not. But she said it's one of those things where you can't just sit there and be mad. It's over with. It's already happened. You just got to move on from it and figure out what you're gonna do. So that's that. And yeah, I had a pretty good pregnancy. Only 7 months. 8 months, because she was 1 day short of 8 months. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say 8 months. She was born 2 months early, basically 9 weeks early, due to me having preeclampsia, and it's just like a disease that pregnant women get. Mainly older women or people with their first pregnancy or multiple pregnancies. Like if you have twins or something, they don't know why people get it. You just get it, but it causes you to have high blood pressure, high urine, and high protein in your urine, which I think is kind of weird. Like, that's a weird thing. But because of the high blood pressure and the urine stuff or whatever, it can cause me to stroke out or have a seizure, and then if I do that, it's bad for the baby. And the only way to cure preeclampsia is to have the baby. So after 4 days in the hospital of me sleeping there, they were like, we're gonna induce you. So how they induce you basically is they take a little pill. It's a little pill. It's tiny. And they shove it up there. Oh, okay, thanks. And they're like, all right, there you go, shove it up there. And you're like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And now they're like, you can't pee for 2 hours. And you're like, what do you mean I can't pee for 2 hours? You just shove this thing up me. And then you're telling me, you can only drink fluids, you can't have any food, so you can't eat. And they're like, here you go, drink all this water, have ice chips, but you can't pee for 2 hours. So my biggest problem is, after they did that, guess who had to pee? I did. I was very mad. And then I started having contractions. Oh, and I had to pee. Oh my god, that made it 10 times worse. I think those were the worst, were the first ones that I had, not even when they were closer together, because I had a full bladder. So then they put a catheter in, and if you don't know what a catheter is, it's where they put, it's like a little rubber tube up there. Yummy. And in your pee hole for girls. And you don't feel anything. You don't know when you pee. You just pee into a little bag. And then that bag goes into another little like box bag thing. And then the nurse has to empty it every once in a while. So that's pretty gross. So they did that. And I'm like, oh, this is so, and it's uncomfortable. You're like, oh, I hate this. Get it out of me. So I was throwing a big fit. I was like, okay, so I was a crybaby. And I was on some other drugs, magnesium, I think that's what they called it. I called it mag because it sucked. It was a drag. And it made me all loopy, and I couldn't see. The only way I could see if it did this. And it sucked. And so they did that. And then about 8 hours later, they checked me, and they're like, okay, you're kind of dilated. We're going to go ahead and start you on this other crap that they do IV-wise that starts your contractions to go more. And so they did that. And so I was like, yay. And so then I started feeling the contractions. Oh my god, those shits hurt. They hurt really bad. I kept asking Anthony to do things. And then when he would come back to talk to me, I was like, don't talk to me. Go away. I don't even want you here. Leave. Like, I told him to leave. I told him to go away. Leave. Bye-bye. Don't want you here. Adios. That's how I was. And he's like, okay, whatever. He didn't know what to do because he was scared that I was going to bite his head off. And then the doctor came in. You could have your epidural at any time. Why didn't anybody tell me? Well, then I was like, alright, I'm going to toughen it out a bit because I think I can do this. I'm sitting there and I'm all, like crying, like this hurts so bad. And my dad was like, you know, you don't have to torture yourself. You should get the epidural. So I was like, okay, I was ringing the bell. Ding, 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 where's my nurse? So the nurse came in with the anesthesiologist. And they sat me up and I was like, I can't do it. And I had to put my feet on Anthony, and he had to help me. And so I was sitting up on the side of the bed and I was having contractions. And they stick a needle in your back. Ouch. And then it numbs your whole spine. So you're like, ooh, okay. Makes it feel like you had like one too many tequilas or something. Like, whoa. Just for a few minutes. So you're like, okay, what's going on? And then you feel them put like a little tiny tube down your spine. Okay, that's weird. You feel it. You're like, oh, okay. And then you feel them push a button and you're like, oh, that feels great. Oh my god. And it does. It feels great. And then they got this magic button. You can push it anytime you feel anything. Or anytime you want. You just want to push the button. Okay. Feel it. Then almost instantly, everything goes numb from the waist down. And they do these little tests where they take wet wipes, basically, and they touch your stomach. Can you feel it? Yeah. How about now? Yeah. How about now? Nope. Okay, great. Okay. And I feel like, lift up your leg. I can't. Perfect. All right, thanks. And then they leave. So they do that. And so then 23 and a half hours later, or 23 and a half hours into birth, labor, I was asleep. I was passed out. And my doctor comes in, oh, we're just going to check you. I'm like, okay, whatever, barely even waking me up. And then they stick their fingers in there. Oh, okay. And they're like, okay, it's time to push. And I'm like, it's time to push. Okay. I'm not even awake. So I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting up trying to push. And then about 5 minutes into it, I'm like, where's Anthony? Anthony's not in the room. Anthony's outside sleeping. Where's Anthony? We need to call Anthony. Oh, shit. I'm, like, terrible. Okay, well, you have to remember I was, like, half asleep. My mom calls Anthony. Hannah's in labor. You should probably get up here. So here comes my boyfriend running in. And then he looks down, and he's all, oh. And he starts walking back and forth, and I'm pushing, ah. And I'm all, and he's walking back and forth. He's like, I gotta sit down. And he sits down, and he looks up, and he's like, I'm gonna throw up. And he, like, almost throws up, and then he looks, and he's like, oh my gosh. And the next thing you know, there's a baby. And then he follows the baby over to the table. And all the NICU nurses are, like, working on her and getting her wiped up and everything. And I don't get to see my baby. They just take her. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then they start pushing on me and to take out the placenta. And I donated my placenta to science so they can figure out why people get preeclampsia and all that crap. So they're trying to get my placenta out, like, perfect as possible so they can take it to, to the laboratory or wherever you donate your placenta to science, wherever they take that. That's weird. It's kind of a weird thing to say. Oh, yeah, I donated an organ to science. Yeah. Anyways, don't know where I was going with that. But, so then Then they brought my baby over, and they were like, touch her. And I did. I just touched her little head. And then they took her. And Anthony was like, okay, love you. Bye. And I was like, oh, okay, bye. He ran after her to the NICU, and they started working on her and giving her tubes down her throat and oxygen in her face and IVs in her hand and umbilical cord and taking blood out of her feet, because that's where they draw blood on babies, with their hands and feet. And so then I got moved to another room, to my original room that I had. That's not a labor room. And I passed out. And I kept waking up, and there was people in my room. And they're all, oh, congratulations. And I'd fall asleep, and people would, and I'd be like, oh, there's new people in my room. Ah, congratulations, and fall asleep. And then my boyfriend's like, oh, you can come see the baby now. And I'm like, oh, I can go see the baby. And I go in there, and I'm like, oh, that's my baby. Didn't quite register. I was still on those drugs. So then I went back to bed. 3 in the morning. A nurse comes in. Would you like to go see your baby? And I was like, yeah. And they took me, and they were like, okay, you get to hold her. And I was like, I get to hold her? And they gave me my baby, and I held her for a minute. And then they put her back in the little incubator thing, and I was so happy. And Anthony hadn't gotten to hold her, and he didn't get to for like another 2 days. And then we limitedly got to hold our baby. And now we just get to hold her whenever we want. And it's been almost 3 weeks. Holy crap, today, Saturday, the 28th, has been 3 weeks since she's been born. And we get to pick her up whenever we want. And we do. And we fight over who gets to hold her. Because it's mommy's turn or it's daddy's turn. And I just love her. So I want to hold her all the time. And I'll be honest, I'm a big mama bear. It bothers me so much when people hold her. Don't put your fingers near her mouth. You don't get to do that. Don't kiss her face. You're not her mom. Don't kiss her face. If she's in a blanket, don't unwrap her. There's a reason she's in a blanket. Like, come on, people. Common sense. We've had a couple grandmas hold her who've done that. Irritate the crap out of me. I'm like, okay, you don't get to hold her no more. Put her back. Put her back. Seriously. I'll admit it. But that's my baby. And she's in a hospital, and I don't want you touching her face, and I don't want her to get sick, and I just want her to come home. Because I miss her. And it's hard. Because I have to get up in the night and pump breast milk, because people don't understand what pump means. I have to put this little machine in my boobs and pumps out breast milk for my baby that's not even here. And I have to get up and take care of a baby that's not even here. And when I'm bored, I don't have my baby to play with. And when I see her, I get so happy, and I just play with her and I kiss her face. Mom gets to kiss her face because I'm mommy. But, yeah. I really don't know what else to say to you guys other than Kylie's doing great. She's 4 pounds 3 ounces last time I heard, which was a day ago. I didn't get to see her yesterday. She's 17 inches long. She's only on a little bit of oxygen. She'll probably come home on oxygen. She's feeding great. So they say maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe 2 if we're lucky. Till she gets to go home. Okay, just if you want to know anything else, ask me questions and I'll make another video. I'm really awkward. I don't know what else to say other than thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And maybe I'll see you guys later. Bye.